How do we get ready? The first thing we want to do is create that roster in SAMIS. We're going to go through our enrollment forms, and for each participant, for each student, we want to decide, are they in SAMIS? If they are, we're just going to give them a new episode date. That takes about 30 seconds. If they're not, this is the first time they've been in our camp, the first time we'll track them in SAMIS, we're going to create that new record. It should take about 3 or 4 minutes per student. Once our enrollment forms are all represented in SAMIS with an active account for each student, we're going to print those sign-in sheets. We'll go over that again. We'll also want to validate our roster through the US Input module. I'll show you how to do it. And then we want to use the close dates module to make sure that our weekends and holidays are closed and our service dates are open. This will ensure we can record units when we provide the service, and so that internal system calculations will work as they should. I'm going to show you how to generate that monthly detail report. I want you to this year baseline your units of service report before you enter units of service for the first day. And then I recommend that you run it weekly to watch those units accumulating as expected. So let's get started looking at SAMIS directly. I'm on the development system, and I'm using a program page that I created specifically for the 2018 summer camps. Let's say that I have a student by the name of Chris. Got Chris's enrollment form here, and I'm thinking, you know what, I believe I had this student last year, but I got to confirm that. And if I do have that student record in the system, I'm going to get them activated really quick. So the first thing I can do is go to participants and click search. That's going to show me the list of students in my program. And sure enough, I see a Chris right up front, and I see the school ID, and I know, yeah, that's my student. So I'm about to create that new episode. But let me show you what you would do if your list is more than just a few records. You might have 50 or 100 or even 200 records here, and it may be a little difficult to visually find it quickly. You can always come up here and click this icon, this magnifying glass icon. The only thing I can't show it to you right now because I'm recording this through my browser, and this particular button icon does not work when I'm running videos or recording videos. But just know it's there. That's the fastest way. You click that, you type in the student's name, but you have to be on participants for this to work. So I've located my record for Chris Fake. I open that demographic record up. I once again confirm, yes, this is the student from last year that I want to reactivate. The new episodes, or the episodes frame here shows me that's a closed date. I'm just going to go to new episode, click that button, and give it an open date. Now you would give it the first day of camp, for example. I'm going to go with April 2nd and leave these two dates, or these two fields blank. And I'll click save. Now I have an open student record. I didn't have to retype all of this demographic information. And this student's ready. I can go to the next enrollment form. And so what would I do? I just click participants again, and I go to the next name and see if that student exists. If in SAMIS. If they're not in SAMIS, then I'm going to create that new record. So let's say that I have a student that's not in SAMIS. What do I do? Well, I'm going to go to my program page. I can do that by going to Programs and Recent and click the program name. And if you remember from last year, to create a new student record, we're going to click New Case. Now, don't use the one up here. Use the button right here, New Case, right above Allocations. I click New Case, and I immediately see what I call the 1-second screen. There's only an agency case code field here, and I'm not entering anything there. It's optional. There's no asterisk. I'll click Save. Should spend about 1 second there. Then I get what I call the 2-second screen. On this screen, I want to check something, and it should take me about 2 seconds. I want to make sure I have a 0 over here by that yellow dot on the right-hand side above participants. If I don't, if there's a 1 or something else, I'm going to back out of this with my browser's back arrow and start over again. Something's wrong. You should always have a 0 here. If I do, I'm just going to take my cursor straight across the screen, go straight up, and click New Participant. Okay, so now I'm in the what we call the PCI screen. I'm going to go ahead and add this student information. And I'm going to come in here and Joy, and we'll give it a date of birth in, let's say, 2005, and an open date. For my purposes, I'm doing April 1st, but you will want to do either the first day of camp or the day before the first day of camp. For gender, I'm going to go with a value there, female. Now, involvement, there's no need to click the drop-down list. It says primary by default. If you do click it, there's no other option, so it wastes your time to even bother with it. Just click continue when you get there, and you'll be on that final page. Now then, last four of the social security number. If you know it, type it in, just the last four. If they don't have a social security number, then you can use the month and day of birth. So if the student was born on April 1st, I would do 0401, basically MMDD. But do use that last four of the social if you have it. That's a good practice. We never put a full 9-digit number in the system, but the last four is authorized. Student ID, you'll want to get that student ID from the report card or from an official document. You want to try and avoid using what was handwritten. It could be wrong. You could misread it. But let's say that you, at the moment, don't have the valid number. You know you're going to get it. Mom said she'd bring it in tomorrow, but you want to get this record in today. Well, you can put in 4 9s and the last four of the Social Security as your temporary number, but you must come back and add or modify this record with the real student ID once you have that. Okay, so we move past the student ID. I'm going to choose a school. Then I'm down at the street number. As you recall from last year, this field only allows the numbers for the street, not the street name. Street name, I'm going to use the Kitsap Alliance address. Our street suffix, you can type that with the abbreviation. Actually, there's a drop-down list you want to choose from. And street directions optional. We get to zip code. You can just type it in. That's better than clicking the drop down and seeing 30 or 40 or 50 zip codes there. It's just faster to type it in if you can. If you type a zip code in for Jacksonville, then you tab to city. Just hit J. Jacksonville will pop in there. Now, in the production system, you will not need to click verify address. That's just something on the development system. I'm going to come down to ethnicity. That will be NA. And it's optional. You could actually skip it. Current grade, choose your grade. And involvement will default to primary. Just leave it at primary. No need to click that. Come down and choose your race. And then come to primary activity services. It will be summer camp. The secondary, don't choose a secondary whatsoever if you're doing a summer camp. There may or may not be another value in secondary, but skip it. Just choose that primary as summer camp. And then click Save. Okay, so I see my visual confirmation that this is saved. I can visually inspect it. If I see a typo, I can click Modify or Modify Name. I see my episodes started April 1st, 2018. This record is good to go. I can go to the next enrollment form in my stack and make that my determination, are they in the system, and I just give them a new episode date, or do I need to create a new student record? Now, to go back to the program page, I can come up to the breadcrumb. This is the breadcrumb, and I choose my program name, which is the second node. SC7 is the program name in this case for my summer camp. Now I'm here again. If I've got another new student, first time I've ever had them in my camp, I'll be going to new case and creating that record. If I see a student enrollment form and I think that they're in the system, I'm going to go to participants and click search. And if they're really in the system, I'll just open it up and give them a new episode date. Now, all of your students from last year should be closed. So you will have to open them up individually, just like we demonstrated, and plus add the new ones. But once you have done that, and you've got a student record for every participant that will be attending your camp, you'll see the number over here. It may not match exactly what you expect. You could have 70 enrollment forms this year, and that number is showing you 120. Don't worry about that, because that could be, that will show you students that were here last year and are closed now, and it counts everything. That's why it's titled as total participants. But the next thing that you'll want to do once you're certain that you've got all of your students active in SAMIS is create that sign-in sheet roster. So how do we do that? We're going to go to Reports, Attendance Sign-in Sheet. This is the screen for my run parameters to create my sign-in sheets. Program, SE7 in this test case. Involvement, choose all involvements. Everything else can stay the same. Program name and all involvements is the only thing you have to make sure it shows, and then click Run Report. And in a couple of seconds, you'll see the green ribbon. You may have to scroll down. You notice that sometimes you won't even see it depending on the resolution of your screen until you scroll down. And once I see it, I'm going to hover over the blue PDF. I see it's clickable. I'll click that, and there you go. I've got my sign-in sheets. Now I've got one page here. You're going to have 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 pages, maybe even more, and it should be printed in ascending order, last name, first name. And so that's what it would look like, and you would simply print that. As long as you don't add a new student, you can keep using this. If a student does come in and you don't have a chance to create the new sign-in sheet, you can handwrite them in for a day or two, but I wouldn't give more than 1 or 2 days before you generate a new sign-in sheet. Ordinarily, I would recommend just printing one sign-in sheet from your printer and then making copies from a copy machine to save the cartridge on your ink for your printers. So having said that, that's how we get our sign-in sheets. And again, that is through Reports, Attendance sign-in sheet. Just choose your program name, and involvement is all involvements. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to the program page because I want to validate my roster. I printed my sign-in sheets. It looks right. Just want to double check everything. Let me go to Units of Service Input from the Detail drop-down. US Input. And right there, I can see all the students that I have in the system that are opened. And 13 is the number that I was expecting to see. If you have a student that's closed and showing up here, the row itself would be grayed out like this or like that. That would be indicative of a closed student. But in this case, all my students are open, and I have a good roster. You can always click Download on your roster and create an Excel spreadsheet with that. And just to show you what that looks like, I'll drag that over. So that's something that you can do. If you create one of these and save it, you want to put a password on it. File, Save As, Tools, General Options, and let's see, you got to actually make it a Excel first. I changed it to file type as XLSX, Tools, General Options, type in your password to open. I click OK. I don't enter a password for modify, just to open. And then I type in that password again. Click OK. And now I have a password protected Excel spreadsheet. And you'll want to do that if you need to save that for FERPA security reasons. So I'm going to close that, and now we are back to SAMIS. And the next thing we want to do is go back to the program page. I'm going to click my SAMIS icon, Programs Recent. program page. Now back on the program page itself. I want to check my close dates. So I'm going to go to Detail, Close Dates. I'll click that. And for the period that's covering my summer camp, I want to make sure my weekends are closed, if that's accurate. If you're not providing service on the weekends, you want that dark blue on the dates for Saturdays and Sundays during your camp. July 4th would be closed. And any other days that you do not have service, you'll want to close those dates in here. So if for some reason I don't have service on the 19th of July, I can just click it. If I did that by accident, I can click it again and reopen it. I can also, let me just show you how to close all the weekends. Now these should be right for you when you open this and you're just double checking it, but let's say you need to close something else. I'm going to close the weekends in September. The way you do that, manage dates, select an action, close all weekends in range. Then I'm going to choose my dates for September. Let's see, that's 31. And this date range must be valid. And that's what I thought. And I click process, and you see that closes the Saturday and Sunday. So you can do the whole year like that. Once I'm convinced that this is accurate for my weekends and holidays, I just go back to close dates and change that to detail. It will take me back to the program page. Now, the last thing I want to show you in this video is how to baseline my monthly detail report. Okay, I have not entered any units of service. Camp has not started yet, but I do have all my students in there. I want to see that report showing as 0 for the month, the first month of camp. I go to Reports and PUOS, and then Program Units of Service Monthly Detail. I recommend you run this each week, and you will see the units accumulating. But run it to start with before camp begins. Program, that's your program name. Skip program site. Your month, I'm going to choose April. You'll be choosing June probably. The year defaults to 2018. Involvement, choose all involvements. And then you should have UOS definitions 1, which would be summer camp. Just click that button, and that's what I need to run the report. I click Run Report. I scroll down. It took 1 second. There's my green ribbon. I click the blue PDF, and I get my report showing all of my students. I can make it bigger there. There's my student roster for this, and what I'm looking for is that I've got zeros all the way, because I know I haven't entered anything yet, right? Over here's totals for the month, for the weeks, and for the days in April. If I scroll up, I see the dates. April 1st through the 7th is the first week, the 8th through the 14th, and so on. So as I add units each day, I could run this report daily or at the end of the week, and I'd see those accumulated totals. It's a good way to know that you're getting the data into the system as expected. If you have 2 data managers, or you're a program manager and you want to check and see if the data manager got all the work in for this week, you can just run this report. Again, this has student name, so this does fall under FERPA security. So you want to be careful. If you save this as a PDF, you need to have the proper version of Adobe Pro 11, I think it is, so that you can put a password on it. Otherwise, you don't want to create this as a PDF. You could create it as an Excel or a Word document and save that with a password too. So that's how you would baseline your report. So that's everything that I wanted to show for the first video, which covers what we do before camp begins. The next series, there should be 2 or 3 more series for summer camp, including what to do on the first day of camp. We're going to have a video for the end of the first week, and then a video for after camp ends. So these will all be packaged together, and you can watch them one by one. Okay, so that is the steps that you need to get ready for camp before the first day. Thank you.